excited about today's topic. I know we've gone over this a few times, but it's always one of those that we get a ton of questions on. All right, I know we have a lot to go over, so I am going to show you some of the differences on the enhanced receiving and some things to look at. I want to make sure that we're covering it all. Obviously, the purpose of our webinars, right, is to help with that extra percentage that we don't use the system, right, bring that awareness. My name is Lori Walsh. I am a partner here on the Fourlane side. I'm very glad to have you join us today. I'm going to go through a few things today. We're going to get started on what is enhanced receiving in QuickBooks. So it is a specific process, and as I mentioned before, we are going to go through some of the ways that it's different when it's turned on versus when it is not, and some things to be aware of. All right. When we turn it on, you will get, or if you start to turn it on, you will get this little pop-up. This is a big warning. We cannot turn it off. So we highly recommend, if you're going to test it, right, to go ahead, make a backup, create an offline copy that you can use as a sandbox or test file, and make sure that this process is going to work for you, right? Because again, once you turn it on, you cannot turn it off. And we've had clients that are like, no, it's not working for me. So we want to make sure that we're being aware. All right, so areas that we are going to cover. Why would we want to turn it on? When we need more control, and what does that actually mean, right? It's not just some words. And then what if we need to have multiple receipts for one bill? I think that's probably the #1 reason that we end up turning this on. But I want to go through that with you today so that we can see it in action. All right, I'm going to jump over to our sample file here. So as you can see, like last week, I have 2 of them open, 2 different colors as well, just so that we can help kind of differentiate between. So the first one, this is what we would see if we do not have enhanced receiving turned on, okay? I can come in here, I can click on a bill, I can pick that bill, right, whatever, and I'm not even sure. There we go. I can go ahead. I do have a receipt in here, but I want to show you one of the big differences. So this little box right here that says bill received, when I turn enhanced receiving on, that goes away. And that's where the process comes in, where there's a differentiation between them. Okay, but some of the other things that you're going to see, I'm not going to save that. This screen right here, okay, from the home page. And if you're not sure how to get to the home page, that company homepage right here, it'll bring you up. So I'm going to challenge each of you, if you do have access to your QuickBooks file, your desktop file, if you want to go and look and see which one of these looks like yours. Because if I have the enhanced receiving turned on, that section for the vendors, they don't look the same. So this is the visual. Now, the other place that I can tell, and I'm going to move this over here for a second, is if I come up here to preferences and I come into our items and inventory. So we have a couple of settings here, advanced inventory settings and enhanced inventory receiving. These are not related. They're on the same page on the preference screen, but they are not the same thing. So the advanced inventory settings are things like multiple warehouse locations, whether we need to have FIFO or not, landed cost, right, that sort of thing. The enhanced receiving, that is the process we're going to go out over today, and that is when we receive the product, and then how do we handle that receipt to get it to the bill to get it paid, okay? And like I said, I am going to show you some variances, so I'm going to be popping between the 2 files, so hopefully there won't be any confusion. All right, let's see. So on the file that does not have it turned on, I can actually go in and let me see if I have some open in here. So I can actually go into a purchase order. This is going to be the same on both. I can make those receipts. You can still see, like on this one, I have received 10 already. I have 10 on back order, so I can go ahead and receive that additional 10. Or however many come in. But let me show you a few things that are different, and then from that point, we probably won't be back in this file again. So if I come into my AP aging, and I have bills and item receipts. Okay, when I turn on enhanced receiving, I will not see it. The only thing I will see is the bills that are ready to be paid. Okay, this tells us, right, if we don't have it turned on, that, hey, I'm expecting a bill. If it sits there for a little while, I know I'm going to have to contact the vendor, right? Without that being on the AP aging, we have to get to that information a different way, which we'll go over next. The other thing on my balance sheet, right, I have my inventory asset account. If I have inventory on, I have my standard account. Now, I'm going to go ahead and move back this file, okay, and let me show you some of those same things. So if I look at my balance sheet with enhanced receiving turned on, I have a new account, okay? I have an inventory offset account. What that means is that when I make that item receipt happen, right, I enter that against my purchase order, I now have those transactions sitting over here until we're done. So I'm going to click in here so I can show you. So here I have my bills, I have my item receipts. Now let's just go ahead and change this to all so you can get a better picture. So I have these item receipts. I entered this bill. Now I have a balance of $248, which means this hasn't been cleared, right? It hasn't been attached. But this also means that I can come in and reconcile this account just like I would a bank account, okay? Which means I can offset all of those pieces, and then I know what I still have open, a very crucial piece to our month-end closing, or at least quarterly closing, because if you don't, right, you won't have any visibility to what's still open. Okay, I will go through the bank reconciliation so you can see that too. I just want you to get familiar with the report. But as you can see, the item receipts live on the balance sheet now instead of, well, the AP aging is on the balance sheet too, but they're going to be in a different account, right? It's like a clearing account. And that way they go in, once I actually get them ready to pay, then it'll clear out, and it just makes it that visibility there. Now, one of the big key reasons that we change and turn on enhanced receiving, or at least partly my opinion here, is if we need to have a distinction between our accounts payable team and our receiving team. Okay, if I need to be able to say, I need you to receive, and it's that kind of checks and balances thing, right? We want to be able to make sure that we can have those controls. And on our users, we even have, I'm going to go in here real quick. Let me put in my password. So our role list, we can actually set up one for inventory and one for AP, right? And then in there, I'm going to go ahead and show you the permissions for this one. Let me pull up that inventory one again. So you can see that they have full access to the vendor center, right? And it just narrows it down. So we're not having to go and recreate from the start, right? We already know that there's certain things that we don't want everyone to access, such as all of our accounting pieces. We don't want them to be able to access the company data. We just need them to focus on the inventory and the vendor. Now, there are some pieces, or there's some tasks in here that I usually go over with clients when we're setting these up, because it may be, right, we may not want them to change prices. We may not want them to be able to see all of the chart of accounts, although we probably need to look at that, right? But there may be some other things in here that we don't want them to be able to access, or on the other side, there may be some that they can't, but it's a great place to start. Same thing on the AP side. Okay, let me go ahead and cancel and close. So the way that this will work, right, is we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to go in here to my vendors, and I'm going to go to my create purchase orders. Now, I have one open already, and as you can see, I have done some partial receipts in here, which we did see in the detail for the account. But I'm going to go ahead and walk through this just so you can see one in action. Now, the other advantage to this, it's also big, is if we get one bill, because I have some clients that they get billed by the vendor once a month, right? But they may have 10 or 15 receipts that apply to that one bill. Well, in the normal scheme of things, where if we just have the bill and the receipt, it's one for one. Okay, so here we can actually apply more than one to a bill. So I'm going to go ahead and create another receipt here for this one, and it does just like with everything on the other side. It's got all of our numbers. Let's go ahead and go with 11. I don't remember which one I had in there. It's going to pull all of my line items up. Let's go ahead and change some. Whoops, I don't want that many. Change this. Let's go ahead and make 30, and we'll go ahead and do the whole 50. Now, I do go ahead on here and put in the purchase order number as my reference, and you can always do -A, -B, or 1, 2. For me, I also put it in here too. Sometimes this helps with the bank reconciliation because to make the identification. Also, if I'm looking at reports, I'm not having to go back and look at everything. I can just see it in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put 11 in here, and we'll copy that down. Okay, now if I need to attach it to a customer job, I can still do that. If I created the if I created the purchase order from the sales order or the estimate, that information will flow. That part will not change for us. Okay, it is the method in which we receive and how we check it that is going to be the big change. Okay, so I don't have anything here for customer job. It does have my purchase order number over here so I can see it. Now, if I need to add anything, right, so if I need to add a pump because maybe they sent it, right, I can, but I would probably question that before I actually did the receipt. All right, I'm going to go ahead and save and close this one. So purchase order now shows the items are received. That one is completely, this isn't the same purchase order. Let's go find our purchase order 11. All right, it does show that that third item was totally received, so it closed it out. It still shows that we have some items received here, or that have been received versus back ordered over here. Again, that part didn't change, so we don't have any worries on that. But now, if I go back to my balance sheet, right, my total did change. Right, a while ago it was a negative because I now have those receipts sitting out there. And if I go to pay, right, I want to show you what that looks like. So if I actually go in here to pay the bills, right, I can only see the bills that are there. Let me make this a little bit smaller. So if I look here, I have bill for at 8/27, which is hiding somewhere. What is the date on that? So we have the 60, which is this bottom one right here. Okay, so this is the due date. But if I look here for that receipt for the 93.65 or even the 31, they are not there. So I can't pay them. Right, that's good. We can't pay item receipts. We don't want to. So that didn't change. If I go over to my change this, my transaction by account, which is that inventory or the balance sheet account, it's all in there as well. Now, if I go to my AP, now let me update that. So all I see here are bills. I don't see my item receipts because they're sitting in that other account. Okay. I have had a client that they would go ahead and pay the bill without attaching it to the item receipt. So what happened is this account kept growing. It never got relieved, right? Because the receipts were still sitting there. Inventory kept going up because they were applying those. They were actually in our AP went up because they kept doing the bills there. And then all of a sudden it came tax time. And they're like, well, what is this number? How do I get rid of it? and we had a nice big cleanup project where we actually had to go and help them get that cleaned up. So we need to make sure before we turn it on that we go through, what is this going to change for us? What improvements is this going to make for us? And then what do we need to do before we actually implement it? Okay. So now if I come in and the reconciliation, which I already have this started, let me actually leave. Let's come back. So I can go right into my reconciliation. I choose that inventory offset account. Okay. I am going to reconcile this to 0. Now, I'm going to challenge you in the chat. Go ahead and tell me why you think if you know, or why you think we're going to reconcile this to 0. I'm curious to see your thoughts on that. But I'm going to reconcile this to 0. I'm going to go ahead and continue, and then we'll address the answer in a minute. So as you can see, looks exactly like it would if I was doing a bank rec, because it's still a reconciliation of the account. And I love doing them in the system because, one, it generates that reconciliation report. Everyone that has access to that can see it. But the other piece of that is it allows us to zero these out, right? So let's look and here, see how my notes are in here so that I can see that these receipts in here are tied. So if I look at this one and this one, and I know this was down at the bottom, pertains to, I believe, these 5. So it zeros. So I know, right, that these are tied together. And so when I reconcile them, those transactions will actually move into the reconciled, or the ones that you see on your register with the check mark. And they will not be on my register, or I'm sorry, they will not be in the reconciliation screen next time. So I don't have to redo them every single time, right? It makes it much easier in that aspect. The other thing the reconciliation does for us is it allows us to see what's still open, right? Because I can look at that report, right? Let me go back to my transaction report. I can see all the transactions here. If I do all, I can still see, like, okay, well, I can see that one tie. Oh, wait, that one, what does that mean? I have $911. I have 911. Which series of transactions in here make that up? Well, if I'm working the reconciliation every month, then I know exactly what makes up those totals. And in turn, right, if I see one that's old, like these are from 23, obviously I use this file a lot and have for a while. These are from 2023. We shouldn't have anything open that long. This is where we need to go back and say, I have a receipt, I don't have a bill, right? And in turn, so let me show you the other side of this. So let's say I'm going to enter a bill, and let's just clear this one. All right, and I'm going to put my vendor in there, and it says, hey, you've got some open transactions. And I come in here and I'm like, oh, well, let's look at this purchase order, because I didn't see the receipt that matched, right? So let's do that again. Actually, let me slow down, go back in here. Okay, so if I'm looking here and I see my purchase order, I know it's purchase order 2. I have numbers in here, and this is where having those reference numbers help. I don't have anything for 2 except this one. So let's go ahead and click that one. I come in here and it's like, whoa, wait, I don't have any quantity on hand. How is that possible? That's our trigger, okay? Now, remember I mentioned that box? I don't have a box up here, so I can't like go ahead and enter. Well, I could, but we're not going to, okay, because it's not right. This indicates we didn't receive the product. So I do not want to pay it. I don't want to create a bill. I don't want to do any of that. I want to stop. I want to go back to the receiving team. I want to go back to the vendor. Maybe, the vendor, hey, I need proof that this came. Go back to the receiving team. Hey, I show that I have a bill. I don't have it. Because sometimes it could have been received on a different purchase order, right? Which means that needs to be fixed. If we're watching this as they come in, then we're going to have more quality data in which we can trust the information that's in the system. Also reduces, having to clean it up at the end of the month or having to go back, undo and redo transactions. Okay. Let me go ahead and clear this. So let's go back to our home page. So if I need to click from here, like again, I'm going to do the same thing, create a purchase order. Oh, all of these I have open. Let's go ahead and do a new one. All right, it's going to do the same. It's going to walk through this real quick, right? So I can go ahead and create my purchase order. I can still create my item receipts from the purchase order. I can still create them from the home page. It's just the manner in which the data and reports are there, right? So if I'm receiving the items and I look at my AP detail, there it goes again. I have an extra bill. So it just gives me my bill information. It's not going to give me those item receipts like the other one did. If I go back to my, let's see, where do I want to go? If I go back to my balance sheet. Now, I will tell you on the offset account, right? The reason that we want it there is because we do have that, like we owe the money, right? Like if it wasn't here, it would be sitting here. But we don't but because we don't want to pay it yet, because we haven't received the bill, we need to put it here so that we have that visibility. So if you are responsible for the AP side, right, depending on what reports you have access to, I would probably save or memorize that transaction report and watch that. And if you're the one doing the reconciliation, I would watch, let's get back to that reconciliation screen. I would watch anything that is old, because either side means something's missing. Okay. All right, that covers what I was going to go through. Let's see if we have any questions. It looks like greetings from Baltimore. Oh, 100. Not so hot here. I'm in Tennessee and it's at 86. And then CPE, I'll have to follow up on the CPE credits because I am not, I don't have that information right in front of me, but we'll follow up on that. Okay, I appreciate everybody joining me. I hope that you were able to get something from this today. I always enjoy doing these with you, so I appreciate you allowing me to kind of take some time today to go through this. If you do have any questions about either the way this works, some questions that you have, please feel free to email. We like to help and we like the interaction. And as far as like getting more information about our Fourlane CX, our support packages, services from us, or if you need product help, please let us know that as well. Again, most of this information can be accessed from the website. Some of the questions, specific questions you have, we may need to have a call, but most of all the product information is out there, and our, how to contact us is out there. So let us see how we can assist you. I hope you all have a great day today, and again, appreciate your time.